A song comes on somewhere. A store, a car radio, a phone left playing in another room. You know what it is before the singer has even opened their mouth. Half a second, maybe less. A handful of notes, no lyrics yet, no chorus, nothing your conscious mind would call information. And somehow, you already know the name of the song, the artist, sometimes even the year it came out. How is that possible? Think about what actually just happened inside your skull. You didn't search a mental filing cabinet of every song you've ever heard. You didn't consciously compare the sound to a list of candidates. The answer simply arrived, fully formed, before you had time to think the question. For a long time, scientists assumed this kind of instant recognition had to be a form of simple pattern matching, something closer to how a barcode scanner reads a label. Match the input, retrieve the answer. The explanation felt tidy. It also turned out to badly undersell what your brain is actually doing. Here's where the real story begins. In 2010, researcher Robert Zatorre and his colleagues at McGill University ran a study using brain imaging on people listening to short, unfamiliar musical excerpts. What they found was strange. The brain didn't wait for the song to finish before reacting. Areas linked to memory and reward activated within a fraction of a second of the very first notes, often before the listener could consciously say what they were hearing. Your brain isn't just recognizing music, it's predicting it. This is the part that changes everything. Your auditory system isn't a passive receiver waiting for sound to arrive and then filing it away. It is constantly, actively guessing what comes next. Every note you've ever heard has trained an internal model of how music tends to behave, what patterns are common, what usually follows what. When a new sound arrives, your brain doesn't start from zero. It instantly checks that sound against thousands of half-formed predictions running in the background. And when one of those predictions lines up strongly with something you've heard before, recognition doesn't build up gradually. It snaps into place all at once. This is why you can identify a song from a single chord, a single drum fill, sometimes even a single held note. Your brain isn't listening to a puzzle piece and figuring out what it belongs to. It already had a short list of guesses ready before the sound even finished. But why would evolution build something this specific? Why would a brain shaped by predators and food and survival be wired for this kind of a split-second audio recognition? The answer has less to do with music itself and more to do with what music happens to share with something far older and far more dangerous. Sound, unlike sight, doesn't require to be looking in the right direction. A predator can be behind you, in tall grass, hidden entirely from view, and still give itself away with the smallest snap of a branch or shift in the wind. For nearly all of human history, the ability to instantly recognize a sound pattern and recognize it fast was often the difference between reacting in time and not reacting at all. Neuroscientist Nina Kraus has spent decades studying how the auditory brainstem processes sound, and her research shows something remarkable. The pathways used to rapidly identify complex sound patterns, the exact pathways that let you recognize a song in half a second, are largely the same ancient circuitry that once let your ancestors instantly distinguish a predator's footstep from the wind or a child's cry from the background noise. You're not using a separate music recognition system. You're using a threat recognition system that music happens to be extremely good at activating. This also explains something else that might seem unrelated at first. Why certain songs give you chills? Why a single opening note from a song tied to an old memory can make your chest tighten before you've even registered what song it is? When your brain's predictive system locks onto a pattern instantly, and that pattern is also tied to emotional memory, the two systems fire together. Recognition and feeling arrive as a single event, not two separate steps. This is part of why music feels less like information and more like something happening to you. Here's the twist that makes this even stranger. The faster and more confidently your brain recognizes a pattern, the more rewarding the moment feels. Researcher Valerie Salimpour's work on music and dopamine found that the anticipation of a musical peak, the moment right before a chorus or a drop, actually produces one of the largest dopamine responses recorded in relation to music, often larger than the peak itself. Your brain isn't just rewarding you for recognizing the song, it's rewarding you for successfully predicting what happens next. This means every time you hear a familiar song and feel that small rush before the beat drops in exactly where you expect it, you are experiencing your ancient predictive machinery working correctly, being rewarded for accurate forecasting, the same reward loop that once reinforced a correct guess about where danger was coming from. Think about what that means for something as ordinary as a song stuck in your head or a chorus you can't stop replaying. You're not being haunted by a catchy tune. You're running the same prediction and reward circuitry your ancestors relied on to survive, except now it's aimed at the 3-minute pop song instead of a rustling bush. This is also why unfamiliar music, especially music built on unusual rhythms or scales you've never encountered, often feels uncomfortable at first. Your predictive model has nothing to match it against. There's no short list of guesses ready to snap into place. The brain that once thrived on fast, confident recognition suddenly has nothing to recognize, and that uncertainty registers faintly as a kind of unease. Give it repeated exposure, though, and something shifts. Your brain starts building a new predictive model. The unfamiliar becomes familiar, not because the song changed, but because your internal guesswork caught up to it. So the next time a song plays somewhere in the background, and you know exactly what it is before a single word has been sung, remember what's actually happening underneath that moment. It isn't memory in the way you usually think of memory. It's prediction running at a speed you were never meant to notice, built from a circuitry older than music itself and rewarding you the instant your guess turns out to be right. A song comes on somewhere, and half a second later, some very old part of your brain has already won. If you like this type of content, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel.